Welcome to 30 What Now? This is Mel,
And this is Irian.
and we're two millennials in our 30s who are faking it through life.
On this podcast, we'll explore what it means to be a 30-year-old and try to make sense of it all along the way.
We're also new to this whole podcast thing, so if you're keen to see our journey, listen away.
Shall we?
Hi!
What's going on?
How's your week been?
Oh, a bit slower than usual. It's been a quiet week in news
Yeah.
from my perspective. But I heard you have something to share.
I have two things to share.
Okay.
So, if you don't know me, like deep down to my core, my values, right? If you don't know me, then you might not know that I love trash TV.
Okay.
And I used to be a religious watcher of Bachelor and Bachelorette and
Okay.
Bachelor in Paradise.
Okay. Didn't know there were that many.
So these, like, I also used to watch the American version as well as the Australian version. Now, we all know that all these like dating shows are now a fuel and like a platform for people to be influencers and all that. But, in America, they have this new this new series, and they call it the Golden Bachelor. And the main guy is this 70 plus year old guy, yes?
I've just gotten what they mean by Golden Bachelor. Sorry, you go.
Like this 72-year-old guy, 72, 76, don't fact check me on that. He is widowed. And so he has this great, sad story coming in, and all of the other contestants are these like 60 to 70 plus year old women as well. And I had a quick look about how people felt about it, right? And some people like, you will never change my thoughts on The Bachelor, blah, 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 blah. But some people were also like, it's really refreshing to see women past their quote-unquote prime, dressing in ways that people don't expect them to dress. I find it really bizarre that some people actually say that women past like their 40s, 50s shouldn't be wearing sleeveless dresses.
Who says that?
Like people, like you shouldn't be showing your arms. Like it's not attractive. But in the current show, people were like showing their boobs, being really like sexy and silhouette-y, and like, all that was just so nice to see. But the bit about people being bitchy and like everyone like frothing over one man is still there. I think people didn't like about that. But the thing that I thought was really nice, and this might be because I'm older, is...
I mean, you're not in your 70s.
I'm not in my 70s, but when I was younger, I watched The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and they were in their 30s, right?
Okay,
And so you're
yeah.
like, oh, you can aspire to be like that.
Do you have a secret dream to be on The Bachelor?
I think if I was single, maybe.
Right.
But now that I'm older, everyone in the Bachelor franchise is younger.
Yes.
Right? Younger.
Yes.
Trimmer, everyone does. A lot of people might go for plastic surgery, which is, no judgment, but that's not what probably I want for myself. And so seeing older people being happy, finding love, being a little, promiscuous, really gives me hope that when
What is the second life Mel wishes she has?
No, it's just if I'm old and if I'm old and I need to look for love, at least I know there's a franchise out there that will provide me with the opportunity. So for people who aren't into reality TV shows, I am
Trash
sorry.
TV?
Trash TV. I'm sorry. So that's my news.
Very informative news. Yes. And also, as you were saying, it hit me why it's called the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah.
Because they're in the golden years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Golden Girls.
I mean,
The TV show, it's also about older women, right?
aren't the Golden Girls a group of girls that sing?
No, I thought the Golden Girls are a group of women who are also older, and it's a TV series.
Is it?
I
Are you sure?
No, I'm not anymore. Well, look, if I'm wrong, I am wrong.
Fairly sure they're a girl band, but okay.
Yeah. So that's my news. Anything exciting up with you?
Look, in fairness, not really economics, interest rates, probably not want to get into right now.
Okay.
But you said you had one more.
I had one more, but maybe I'll save it for another time. Maybe.
I need to know.
You need to. Fine. This other one. I was thinking of whether to talk about it because you had nothing to talk about, and I didn't want to steal this.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Um,
It's a quiet week for me.
So I had an instance where I felt really shitty about myself. I was talking to someone at work, and I just happened to mention I went to the high school that I went to here, and then this colleague was like, "Oh, I went to your high school as well." I was like, "Cool. When did you graduate? When did you graduate?" And she graduated 4 years later than me. And I think what I felt really shit about was she is at a higher ranking than I am. And I think she also has this like great big personality, right? So she is more well known around the office, and she's known to be a really strong character. On top of that, we were just talking about how she perceives traveling. Now, like, you know, I assume she's around like 26, 27. So I know she's
Would be thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, she's near 30. She's not around our age yet. So I'm not quite sure whether, you know, who she is affected by the generations that she might be in. But the way that she sees travel is so interesting. She mentioned to me she went to Hawaii twice this year, going to go to like Bali.
How does she afford this?
Wait. Bali, went to Sri Lanka and Paris this year as well. She's going to go to Japan at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Yeah, but so like all these places, I'm like, how did you get, like how much time did you have to take off? And then she said to me, some of the places she went to, she only went for a long weekend. So a friend of hers would be like, let's go to Hawaii. She would check whether she has any work that needs to be done. And then go on the Friday night, come back Monday night. And that was like, you know, about the same for the rest of the trip. She might go in like a week or two's notice. And the only, so, and when I asked her, wouldn't it be really expensive? How do you afford it? And for her, she's like, I'd rather have my sanity over my savings.
Okay.
So like, I think all in all, I just felt really, like, I really admired her.
I unfortunately have neither sanity nor savings.
But that's a you problem.
Oh, yes, wrong.
But, you know, I really admire her. I admire her guts. I admire how far she's come now, despite, you know, not despite, but, you know, based on her age. Like, she's so much ahead of me. She's so much stronger than I am, personality-wise as well. And I think for a good couple days, I felt really shit.
But see, that's, and I didn't know this actually, but this is interesting. We tried to record a bit of a session on this topic-ish, but it just takes us back to the point of, you know, as you reach your 30s, everybody's following their own journey. Like, people have made different decisions in life. Because you've tried different stuff, you've changed careers before, you know? I'm the opposite, I haven't. And then if I think about some of my other mates, family, kids, you know, I'm not fortunate enough yet, but everybody's chosen their own journey. You can't really compare yourselves to other people. I think that's,
I know.
for me, that's the topic.
But I think what was hard was I was comparing to her in like the workplace where we were both doing the same job. You know, we went to the same high school, and I don't know, didn't check into uni, right? But at points we were in the same path. Yeah.
But you made different decisions in life.
I know, maybe it was the wrong one.
Well, as long as you learnt something from the decisions that you made, it's never really a wrong decision. I was telling this to somebody this week. Said that there's no, well, sometimes there's a wrong decision, but most of the time there's no right or wrong decision. It's just a decision you make.
Unless you get to jail.
That's always a wrong decision. But yeah, pick yourself up and move on.
Yeah. But that, you know, in saying that did force a new perspective or thought in me, though. So I mentioned to you this morning how I never really plan my trips unless it's like out of necessity, just because I think growing up my parents weren't great planners. We did go to places out
Sorry,
of the
Uncle
womb.
Auntie.
Like, you know, because they have their own business, they try to cater to what needed to be done at that time, and then they're like, when everything's done, let's go. So it actually made me go, you know what? Maybe I need to plan my trips more. Maybe that's what I was like. If I can't get to the same point that she is at her career, maybe I can pivot. Maybe like I just want to do more travel.
So sorry. So is it you need to be more planned in your trips or be more spontaneous in your trips? I mean, I will.
Yes,
I,
true.
I will never do a weekend in Hawaii.
True.
Love Hawaii, but like not a weekend.
Oh, I think in order for you to be spontaneous, you also have to be financially stable to be
Yes.
spontaneous.
Or financially, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reckless?
Irresponsible. Yes,
Yes.
reckless.
Yes. I used to be a lawyer, as you. I don't
Yeah.
know if I mentioned this. So I am more risk adverse. So I'm more going down the path of let's be more mindful and plan my trips.
Well, you can help me with my spreadsheet, which I've
I-
set up for my trips.
I hate spreadsheet planning stuff, but yes.
Well, it's the best way to be structured and budgeted, right?
Yeah, true. But yeah, so in line with this, I've decided I'm finally going to plan my trip to Machu Picchu and a family trip to Egypt because my dad loves history and he's always wanted to go to Egypt for a long
Love
time.
Egypt. It's great.
Yeah.
There's so much history, and look, I haven't been there for years. But there's so much history in Egypt. There's so much to do. Big country. Alexandria is beautiful. The
Yes.
pyramids are great. Abu Simbel is amazing. So lots to do.
Lots to do, and I'm really excited. So now that I've put it into the ether, I have to do it. This is basically, I swear, this podcast is another way for me to be like, I'm manifesting, it's happening. Thank you for being part of our journey.
But the more people that talk about Mel's trips, the more likely they are to happen.
Yeah, because then I'll feel really like stressed if I don't go, and I feel embarrassed. You know. Okay, maybe let's not go down the path of negative reinforcements. But yes, anyway.
Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
I'm
and
very
Egypt.
supportive of both Machu Picchu and Egypt. I think
Yeah.
Machu Picchu will be great. I actually have a colleague who he could be on there now, but he's doing the W Trail in Patagonia.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yep.
I think it takes a couple of days.
Yeah.
That sort
yeah.
of thing I want to try.
Yep. But you're getting old. We're getting
Well, thank you for the reminder. She meant we are getting old.
We are getting old. But yes, the Patagonia trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's out. So
Fingers crossed she gets there.
fingers crossed. But shall we get into the topic of the day as well then, you reckon?
So Mel, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the 7 relationships that you should cultivate in your 30s.
Before we get into it, how did you arrive at this list of 7 types of relationships?
ChatGPT. But only because when I looked online, right? When I looked online, I was like, what sort of relationships you should have in your 30s? Relationship is always synonymous with romantic relationship. Then the next one is family relationship. So, I was just trying to be AI advanced. And I was like, let's see what ChatGPT says. And honestly, the 7 relationships that they place here, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
So just to run you through it, there's friendships, professional contacts, so your colleagues, mentorships, which could be both within the workplace or outside the workplace, family, romantic relationships, community involvement, and the last one, self-care.
So relationship with self.
Relationship with self.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like all 7 of it makes sense. If we wanted, and I think because there's so much topic and depth we won't be able to go into every one of them. We've decided to maybe let's skip out on romantic and self-care first.
Save that for another episode.
Yeah, and there's so many resources out there for
Yeah.
the moment. Let's start off with the other ones.
Yeah.
So I think the first one I would love to talk about was family.
And we alluded to this in one of the previous episodes as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And as I was doing my research, we've got listeners now. We might as well do some research. And what was really interesting was when I was looking online on the type of family relationships that you could cultivate. A lot of people, a lot of the topics came around like revolved around what to do when you have toxic family relationships. And a lot of them would have either been like parents, sure, but like I wanted to speak to my relationship with my brother. So I went really specific and wanted to talk about sibling relationship, and a lot of them fell around that too. So based on what I've seen, I was actually even thinking about the sort of relationships that my friends might have with the siblings or just on TV. And I think I think it's probably uncommon to have a very sort of love-hate relationship with your sibling, right?
Is it really? Isn't that all? Isn't that everything that we see on TV?
Exactly, like it's very common.
Oh, it's very common.
Very common.
It's very
sorry.
common.
Yeah, and I think like even when I was reflecting upon my personal relationship with my brother, like sure it's a love-hate relationship, but I would like to think that it's a good relationship. And I find it especially important because like I might have mentioned in an episode or not, maybe it's one of those like deleted recordings.
One of those that were lost to the ether.
Because of me. That my parents are based in Malaysia, so the
We get it, you're Malaysian.
Yes, sorry. Yes, we get it. You're Malaysian. I get it. Sorry, but the strongest family relationship that I have here is with my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have a similar, like, what's your thoughts on your sort of relationship with your siblings?
Adult relationships.
Yeah.
Is probably what I would call it. So I got two siblings. Both lived in Melbourne for a bit. Both have gone home. Yes, lived with my brother for a couple of years. But you know, not a love-hate relationship like you see on TV. You know, we were. My family's pretty interesting. Oh, I call it pretty interesting. We're just there.
I was just about to say, like, do you mean, like, you know, when you talk about love-hate, there's more of that, you know, upwards, downwards, like excitement and sadness, blah, 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 all mixed in one. From where what you're saying, it sounds more like everything is like good, it's chill, no dramas.
We're pretty. It's pretty flat. Let's call it. Right?
Yeah.
Like on a high but flat. You know, it's either that or I've not been exposed to or involved in any of that drama. But
Yeah. Does it make you sad, or are you quite happy with that sort of?
Neither.
Yeah.
Neither. I mean, you know, as the listeners will find out. Sorry, I rocked the table a moment ago. But as the listeners will find out, and as you well know, I'm pretty chill.
That's also true.
I'm just pretty chill. You know,
Yeah.
don't let life affect you. And so, does it make me happy? No. Sad. I'm happy that I've got a living family. There's no doubt. But you know, no happier or worse off in any way.
So that's completely different to
Yeah,
my
very
situation.
completely different. Yes.
Like I have dramas, and like I think because we love each other so much, when we fight, it is so intense. And I think like you know, talking about like toxic family and all the resources online, sometimes I do wonder, is it toxic or are we just dramatic? Like I you know.
I mean, they say there's no love without a bit of pain.
Maybe. But I you know, like I actually asked my brother the other day, do you want to do a video, like do a podcast where we talk about how we've managed to have a better relationship now? Because like when I came here from Malaysia, me and my brother probably didn't have the best relationship, and it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of growth as well for us to even get here. And I was even thinking about maybe like the sort of strategies that we kind of implemented in order to get to where we're at, right?
Mel has analyzed her relationship with her brother.
So much, like it's because I feel very strongly about how strong we are.
Yeah.
But he does not agree, bro. If you're listening, I know you don't agree.
But no, but you know, it's a very fortunate position for you to be in, right? To have such a good relationship with your brother.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, and you mentioned this to me the other day, but I forget now. But your mum gave you a good piece of advice. But I'm not going to try and paraphrase. But what was it?
It's like when we die, the only person that's here that's your flesh and blood is your sibling.
Did she say it in that voice?
It's like when you die. No, I was trying to do the Malaysian accent, I couldn't do it. But yeah,
Yeah. No, actually, no, that's a good point, right? When you die, the last bit of your flesh and blood is siblings.
Yep. And I think even as I was thinking about it, the biggest way we were able to cultivate a better relationship, maybe to put aside our ego whenever we fight. Because I don't know if you can tell, I have a strong personality. And you can probably assume that my brother also has a strong personality.
Runs in the family.
Yeah, and so when we fight, we're very adamant on what we are correct on, what's right for us. So when we fight, it took us a couple of years. I think the first few years when we fight, right, it required maybe a couple of days before either one of us said we're sorry. And now it's probably maybe like a couple more hours. And I think
Do you think that comes with age?
I think so. I do think so. I think like when we were younger, we would get our parents to as well like referee the fights.
Mediate.
Mediate. I was like referee. Mediate the fights between us. And now because they're so far away in a country that I will not speak of, it's really hard to get that. If anything, maybe this is my toxic trait. If anything, sometimes I try using his partner to mediate some fight, like not the intense fight, like the smaller like little like non-fights. Maybe that's my toxic trait, but you know.
I mean, sometimes you want an objective view.
Yeah. That's my sort of like. Anyway, I think I rambled on my relationship with my brother.
But well, it's an important part of life, right? You know, you're very fortunate to have your brother around. Yeah. You know, I've got family members in Melbourne, but you know, not a lot.
Yeah.
Most of everyone's back home, so no, it's good.
If you want to know more about my brother, or if you want him to come on board and talk about how tumultuous our relationship was and how we got to a less tumultuous part of our life, let me know and I will send this feedback through to him.
DM us on Instagram.
Yes.
30 What Now.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. The next sort of like relationship we thought was really important to talk about was professional contacts and mentorship. And
you kind of want to put both of them together in a way. So, you know, you did say earlier mentorship, not necessarily professional, but also personal. And the professional relationships. I don't know. I like to think I've been pretty okay in that space.
No, you're great at it. Let's be honest.
And I don't know if I've said this before, but I have this view of, and it's not tactical by any means. It's just how I think we should build relationships. And Mel, I mentioned this to you the other day, but it's about giving a little bit of yourself away in every conversation.
Yeah.
And it's hard in a workplace. It can be very challenging in a workplace where you want to be professional and you have this image and this brand.
Especially when you work in, you know, an area where image and how you portray yourself is important.
Yes.
And I actually think I struggle with that because sometimes you told me this advice years ago, and sometimes I feel like I implement it in any workplace. But if it's not reciprocated, what do you do?
Well, stand up, brush yourself off, and move on. Yes, but you know you're not gonna get a positive response from everyone.
Yeah. But I find it hard. I think I also especially find it harder with more senior Employees employees, sorry, senior colleagues. Like you might be able to find like your peers. Maybe they're willing to open up to you a little bit more. But how do you, build that good professional relationship with someone that's of a senior rank?
How do you build rapport?
Yeah.
Shit, I feel like I'm going to give a talk.
But we gave this section to you because
Well-
he is better at it than I am.
But you see, but I suppose the thing is, I don't think I try. If that makes sense. I genuinely care when I talk to people. So there's a little bit about giving a little bit of yourself away. It opens yourself up. It exposes you a little bit, which we're all human, right? And you'd hope that the person you're speaking to, the person that you're trying to get to know, gives a little bit of themselves away as well. And you know what really helped actually in my professional relationships space was working from home. Have I ever mentioned this to you?
I don't know if you have actually.
Working from home. So you work in the office, you're in a professional space. You got an image, you have a brand, all, right, and it'll depend on your career and what office you work in and all those sorts of things. When we were all stuck at home on Zoom calls, team meetings, etc., I made it a point to not blur my background. Never mentioned this to you?
No, I don't think so.
And the reason I did that, now it was pretty quiet at home at the time, so I don't have a lot of activity behind me. But living in an apartment here, right? It's not a big space. It meant that my colleagues, my clients, I could quote unquote welcome them to my home. Like I'm not human.
But your home's not messy.
Well, I know that, but it's not a professional space. It's not an office. When I was on a video call, people will see my kitchen, right? And I made it a point not to blur my background as much as I could, because of that. Because it just tells everyone we're all human. We're all going through the same thing, right? Yes, we've got this professional view of ourselves, but at the same time, we're all going through the same shit.
I actually never really thought of it that way. I recently just was on a call with a colleague where I asked her why she was in a living room-esque space. And this was on a day when it was kind of rainy in Melbourne, right? So she was saying that her workspace was totally dark. I think deep down, maybe I did go, that's a little casual in a way, right? Like if I was a client, I wonder if I would perceive that to be not like fully professional. But you're right, it does open up. It is a conversation starter and it does open up some stuff, but I do wonder if you live in a situation where it's not even if it's not professional, but if it's not presentable, whether that is still the correct move.
So the word presentable is probably pretty good. It still needs to be presentable in a fashion that you don't want to have. It can't be too messy. It can be messy, but it can't be too messy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that worked. I mean, the other thing, and I know parents who had to work from home throughout COVID found it particularly challenging because you had to play. If you're a boss, you're an employer. If you're an employee, employer, employee, parent, teacher. Like I can only imagine.
And then if you have fur babies at the same time.
Well, that's also true. You got to take care of your pets.
Yeah, you are your pets.
Yeah, exactly. You got your pets, your kids' pets. And then their kids will join a video call.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I think that's a nice one actually. Having kids join in.
Right. I mean, in what professional setting pre-COVID could we say, oh yes, it's fine to have the kids in the meeting, but it's through COVID in these Zoom calls and these team meetings, it became acceptable because what else were you gonna do?
Actually, you're right. I was just thinking about it. I have right now in my current job, I oftentimes see kids come into the picture because they just came back from school, so they're like, "Hey, mom and dad," blah, 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 blah. And so like it is very accepting. But what happens to the people who don't have kids like us? I work in a room where you can't really see much. It's literally a door. You can only see the door, and you can either see the door to the living room or the door to my toilet. I live in a small apartment. What can our listeners, if they're kind of in that boat of like wanting to create a better relationship with their workplace, what can they do?
Go to the office.
But no, firstly,
I'm
no,
joking,
no.
I'm
We
joking, I'm
advocate
joking.
for flexible working.
But well, actually, that's a very good point. And maybe we'll save this topic for another day. But the hybrid work environment, I think about quite a bit. You know, I think it makes a lot of sense to be in that sort of space. But
Yeah.
how do you make it work? You know, some people live in smaller apartments. Some people live
Yeah.
in a big house in the suburbs with an office. And how do you connect? Right? And I found it. I don't think we got it right through COVID. But we'll save that topic for another day. Actually, yeah, building professional relationships. Let's say you live now post COVID. We're out and about now. We're meeting our colleagues again.
Yes.
You know, I think to my point earlier, just being a bit genuine about if you truly want to build relationships with people, it's about being genuine about yourself. You know, people. We all like to think we have this image and this brand and it's true, but a lot of people can tell when you're faking it. They can. You know, I never shy away from who I am. I walk into work like I would as I walk into party. Like that's just me.
I don't think it's a question of faking it. I think it's a question of, maybe this is a personal question. What if you aren't able to connect with a colleague because either they are not interested in, like they're not interested in you as a person, which is fine, right? You can't connect with everyone. Or I think another sort of question that came to my head the other day was I didn't watch the AFL Grand Final. It's just not my thing,
Neither did I.
right? But people were talking about it, and
Do you know who won?
people were happy. Is it Collingwood? I didn't know. Like, I don't watch it, and I didn't watch it because I went on a hike with my friends. But if I had nothing to do, sure, I would watch it for the purposes of gathering
Intel?
gathering topics to talk to colleagues, right? But what happens when culturally you are also not on par with the majority of the work?
But there must be some common ground. There must be some common ground.
I don't know.
Have you got to probe enough, I think, and this goes to anyone anyway. It's not just professional relationships. It's anyone, right? If you wanna, you're with your friends, you want to be genuinely interested in what they do as people. Otherwise, why are you friends? Right?
But it's reciprocated. What if it's not reciprocated? Well, wait, no, true. I think there's a couple of questions we have here. One, whether it's reciprocated. Two, whether if it's not, like you're not talking about the same, you don't have the same sort of like topics of interest. And maybe, yeah, that's right. If you said, in that sense, if you need to probe, then maybe I can try probing more, I guess. This is
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, you give it a try. I feel like this has become mentorship.
maybe. I said, are you trying to mentor me in how
I'm not
to be
trying
better?
to, but it feels like it. Well, okay, put that on the list of things that we wanted to talk about in that other episode.
Yeah.
But actually, to the point of mentorship, then, you know, professional, personal, I just, you know, as I said earlier, whether I'm in the office or I'm at a party, I'm the same person. So mentorship is similar to me. Personal, professional, it's more about growth. Yes, there's career growth, there's professional growth.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just me as an individual. I like to think they're kind of intertwined, because
As in being a mentor and a
no,
friend.
as in whether it's personal or professional mentorship,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Right. Because me as a person, I'm the same both in and out of
Yeah.
work, right? And people will approach mentorship very differently, right?
Yeah.
My approach is not to have one mentor but a few. You learn what you need to learn, both the good and the bad. You know, you pick and choose, and then you find out what works for you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because you might find an individual that's great at what they do, and you know they can be a mentor or your what's the word? What's not idle? What's the word I'm looking for?
Guidance.
Yep. So something like that, right? You get me, right? And that's great.
Muse.
But you're not them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You have a different journey. You've gone through different things in life, so you pick and choose what works. You learn what didn't work, and that's how I approach mentorship.
I have a very strange relationship with mentorship because I think like I agree you can't have just one, but I think throughout my time on Earth, I've had a couple.
Which has been a long time apparently, because
Long
over 30 at least.
over 30 now, but probably starting from maybe uni days when I was in law, they try to put you in a mentorship with other law professionals. And I think this is up to like the end of my legal career. I've had different opportunities to get mentorship, and some of them were like decent, but I never really got much out of them. I think especially the first few years of my law school life makes sense. I had no idea what I was doing, but even at the end of my legal career, I tried to connect with this mentor that was like given to me. And I also think it's quite hard. I think it's hard for people to be a mentor.
What does it mean to be a mentor?
I think to me is someone that can guide you. And maybe I have a higher criteria of what it means to be a mentor. Like to me, it's someone who guides you through where you need to be, or like provide you with feedback, connects you with the right people. In a way, the life coach of your career. You know, I think that's kind of what I expect from a mentor. And is that too unreasonable?
Well, so then being a mentor requires a conscious effort.
Yes.
It does.
Yes. Which I don't know if a lot of people have it in them outside the everyday job to be a mentor. And this is, I'm not even talking about my current career, I'm talking about like just all the mentors of Christmas past, you know, like all the mentors of my past. And I've never been one myself. So obviously I don't know how hard it would be to be one either.
You mentioned this the other day to me as we were, getting ready for this episode, but you were saying, and you might have read it somewhere, if you can't find a mentor, maybe you should be the mentor.
Like what we're doing now? No, that's not true.
No, Mel, that's me to you.
Oh, yeah, true. Maybe. But I wouldn't even know what I would be a mentor of. Oh yeah. So yeah, I think like hopefully in the next couple of years, if you want to mentor me on how to have a better like workplace relationship, like, I'm not saying I'm bad at it, but I think I would like to be better at it. Why are you laughing?
So the issue I have with that is I don't like to overanalyze anything. I'm pretty chill.
I know. Oh, yes. But people analyze interactions.
I know, and I personally find that strange.
But you know how the most famous book, bestsellers, How to Win Friends and like all that title book? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
How to influence people and win friends?
Yes.
Something like that?
So I'm familiar with that book, and I've got a book on my shelf called Compelling People.
Yeah.
And it talks about how to walk, how to talk.
Yes.
And things like that. I never finished that book. But yes, there's a whole genre on that.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know. It feels strange to me to overanalyze all this because we're all human. And that's what feels strange to me. If I want to build a truly human connection, I don't want to overanalyze any of it. But maybe I've never thought about it. Maybe that's the problem.
I don't know either. No, I'm genuinely not. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe, over the next couple of months, years, the listeners can follow along. But, if that mentorship relationship between you and me grows, we'll let you know.
And if you have any advice, right, on how to overcome it for myself, and maybe for myself, and then we can probably provide this to Erin as well. So blah, blah, blah. Feel free to shoot it through. I'd be really keen to know. I think it's something that I'm very conscious of. I don't know why in my most in the past couple of years. So would love to be better at that.
Yeah. So that's a bit about mentorship. Now, speaking of reaching out to our listeners, community.
Community, yes. So this is my expertise now. So, sorry. When we talk about community involvement, sort of relationship, when I looked online, a lot of people talked about, your church, for example. That might be a religious, like that you might have a community around there. Or sorry, not just a church, religious institution. For me, my community involvement is my dragon boating group, right? It's a group that, we train twice a week. We have social outings outside. And I think, a lot of times community involvement also has like a volunteering element. You volunteer to organize things, help with the respective goals and such. And then for me, the biggest part of being in a diverse group of people is that not only do you have a goal outside of your workplace, outside of your personal goal, like your everyday wanting to buy a house, get married personal goal, you have like this sort of overarching group goal, right? That's like one. The second thing is that you have a group of people that's so different to your current group of friends that you might have, cultivated over your primary, high school to uni years. Like some of the people that I am friends with are in their 40s, in their 50s. Some have kids, some don't have kids. Some might be working in, not sort of professional service. They might be nurses, teachers, all that. And I actually think that ever since I started my dragon boating sort of journey, it's given me more perspective. It's made me less anxious as well about my own personal trajectory of not having kids at the right time, not being married at the right time. Because when I look at all my other friends, they have such different, life milestones as well. So that's my sort of community involvement. I do feel strongly that having something similar to that was very beneficial to me, since I'm far away from my own like flesh and blood family.
I want to take a step back, and I want to get your thoughts on this actually.
Tell me.
When we say community, what makes a community? What does it mean to have a community?
I think you do need someone to have your back for things, right? And you have to have their backs too. And that could be, hey, I needed to move. Would you want to help me? And that sort of the people from that community will be like, let's all help out. You've got that. And I think you need to have that common goal, right? So even if you're in like a fitness institution, like BFT or F45, all that, like if you have a common goal of wanting to get fit, or like if you have like for a religious institution, if you have the common goal of wanting to reach out to the higher power, like that is important as well. What's a third one that I can kind of think of on the spot right now?
No pressure, but okay. But so the second point about having a common goal, that's what I was thinking about actually. I was hoping you mentioned that, right? Because there is a common goal we're working towards. It's like a collective mind, I find, when I think about a community. Right? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a similar mindset.
So it's not just a common goal. I think maybe a common, even like activity.
Yes.
Right?
Like dragon boating.
Dragon boating, like listening to a podcast.
The sport, like listening to a podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
So building a community can mean many things. You can join sport, and we've talked a little bit about sport on this podcast before. Book clubs.
Yes. Yep.
Religious institutions, as you say.
I used to dance salsa at a place called the Salsa Foundation in Melbourne, not sponsored. But like people who go for Latin dancing, they all tend to congregate like in the same sort of gatherings, because there's always like similar sort of fiestas and such happening. But I think that's actually really important when you are like out, you don't have the same like uni school environment where you can meet different communities. And I guess in that sense, communities could have been like clubs and association, right? When you were in uni and such. Yeah, I think it's nice. There's nothing more to it than it's nice.
You know, I was going to say as we get older, okay, we're not actually that old, but we're in our 30s, it's the whole point of this podcast. But as we approach our 30s, it feels to me that it's becoming more and more important that we feel like we are a part of something bigger than ourselves.
Yes. No, I agree.
Right? And so we've spoken about family, we've spoken about work, but, you know, there's an element of you're sitting at home with your family or you're alone or whatever it is. Do you have a purpose in the community?
No, that is actually, that's so true. And can I come back to one Malaysian element? Okay, just one Malaysian element. Sorry, listeners. And I think that's why in Malaysia, I actually find that a lot of people would turn Christian in their middle age because you don't often find sporting communities in Malaysia, or like salsa group, whatever, like all these other different types of activities. Maybe it's more common here, but it's not in our parts of the world, right? So maybe that's why you actually find a lot more people jumping into like the various like religious institutions. I'm sure a lot of them might go to Buddhism and Hinduism and all that, and like, you know, and Islam as well, at that age when they wanted that higher purpose.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point. As people get older, and I've noticed that as well, and I don't want to dig into this too much on this episode, but yeah, as people get older, they look for purpose. And if we haven't spoken about this on another episode, I'm sure we will at some point, but as you approach your 30s and later, you start to figure out what's important to you. And whether you do or you don't, at some point you'll ask yourself, is this it?
Yeah, nah. Especially if you haven't had your life sorted.
Yeah.
Right?
No one ever has their life sorted.
Sorry.
We're all faking it.
For online listeners, I said quote unquote sorted.
Yeah, we're all faking it.
And I guess, so the last one we want to talk about, I know it's a long episode. We've warned people this is going to be a long episode. And the last sort of relationship group we want to touch on is friends.
Yeah, friendships.
Friendships.
But before we dig into that, we might take a bit of a break. Welcome back.
We're back. We're back from our break.
A moment ago, Mel introduced that, you know, we'll continue on to speak about friendships, but you know, I was thinking maybe we'll save that for another episode and really flesh that one out.
Yeah. We had a look at the length of the episode. It's going to be quite a longer one as is. So we thought, let's stop it here and see what you actually think of it. So if you want to provide any feedback at 30 What Now on Instagram, we would love to hear from you.
And rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, so we can continue learning.
Yeah, so until then, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.